Imagine a quiet evening at your local market suddenly turning into a heart-pounding rescue mission. When a little girl clutches your jacket with trembling fingers, her eyes filled with terror, begging silently for help. Can you feel your heart racing too? And where are you watching from, dear friend? If you love these moments of courage and compassion, please subscribe to Timeless Stories. Today we bring you a tale that will stir your emotions and remind you of the power of a single brave act. It was a calm late afternoon in Metro City, the sky awash with warm hues of gold and orange as the sun dipped below the horizon, the gentle breeze carrying the mixed scent of freshly cut grass and urban concrete, a familiar aroma that usually brought comfort. Keanu Reeves, dressed casually in a light jacket and sunglasses, had just finished shopping at his neighborhood market, balancing a couple of reusable bags filled with fresh groceries, and he walked slowly toward the parking lot, his thoughts adrift about which movie to enjoy that night. Lost in his reverie, a soft tug on his jacket suddenly jolted him from his thoughts, and when he turned around, he saw a small 6-year-old girl with shimmering blonde hair, wearing a delicate purple dress, clinging tightly to his coat with tiny fingers, her eyes wide with unspoken fear. For a moment she stood frozen, her body trembling as if caught in a nightmare. And when she finally managed to speak, 3 whispered words filled the air with a chilling urgency that made Keanu's heart stop. Without a moment's hesitation, he pulled out his phone and dialed the authorities. Before we continue this story, please let us know where you are watching from. And if you are moved by these stories of heartfelt bravery, do subscribe to Timeless Stories, because every day holds a new tale that could light the spark of hope in your heart. The parking lot, bathed in the soft glow of twilight, suddenly felt like the stage of a drama unfolding before his eyes. Keanu gently set his grocery bag aside and knelt down by the frightened child, his voice tender yet filled with concern. "Are you all right, sweet child?" he asked, his tone gentle and kind, attempting to ease the terror that flickered in her eyes. The little girl hesitated, her lips quivering as if searching for the right words, her gaze shifting anxiously as if she was watching something beyond his view. At that very moment, a woman's voice rang out, "There you are," as a woman in simple jeans and a light blue blouse hurried over, her brown hair neatly tied back. She crouched beside them, grabbing the girl by the shoulders, and exclaimed with a mixture of relief and reproach, "Oh my goodness, you scared me. You cannot just wander off like that." Her tone was sweet on the surface, yet something in the cold, calculating look in her eyes made Keanu's heart sink. The woman introduced herself as the girl's aunt, but Keanu noticed that the little one did not show any sign of recognition or relief. Her expression remained distant, filled with silent dread. Keanu, his protective instincts stirring, gently asked, "Is she really all right?" In a voice that carried both warmth and caution, the woman laughed nervously as she reassured him. "Yes, yes, she's just a bit frightened because she got lost for a moment." Yet nothing in the child's face changed. No smile, no spark of recognition, only a haunting look of fear, a look that spoke volumes even in silence. Despite the woman's soothing words, the atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken tension. Keanu leaned closer to the little girl, his eyes soft yet resolute. "Would you like to come with me so that you feel safe?" he offered, his words wrapped in genuine care. The girl's tiny hands trembled even more, clenching as if trying to hold on to an invisible lifeline. Her eyes pleaded silently for rescue, for someone to understand her unspoken cry. Before the girl could answer, the woman's grip tightened, her voice taking on a sharper edge. "Come on now, darling. Speak up," she urged, her tone losing all its warmth. The child turned her gaze away, her expression one of deep anguish, as if trying to hide a secret too painful to share. The space between them grew suffocating, every passing second filled with the unspoken language of fear and desperation. Keanu's heart pounded in his chest as he realized that this was no ordinary case of a lost child. He recalled the silent moment when the girl's eyes had locked with his, a look that whispered, "Help me." And in that instant, every fiber of his being cried out to protect her. The woman's forced smiles and shallow reassurances rang hollow in the face of the child's silent plea. The setting sun no longer brought comfort, but a sense of foreboding that something was terribly amiss. Stepping slightly between the girl and the woman, Keanu's voice became firm, yet laden with compassion. I just want to make sure you are truly safe, he said, his words imbued with the quiet authority of someone who had learned to trust his instincts. For a moment, the little girl's eyes flickered with a glimmer of hope, as if silently saying, I want to be safe. But before any further words could escape her, the woman's expression hardened, her smile vanishing in an instant, replaced by an icy determination. With an urgency that bordered on desperation, she replied, Everything is fine, Mr. Reeves. We are leaving now. Her tone clipped and rehearsed, but as she started to pull the girl away, Keanu noticed a subtle hesitation in the child's movement. A slight step away that spoke louder than any words. A silent signal of distress. A quiet plea for someone to step in and help. Keanu's heart tightened with resolve. He knew that beneath the surface of this seemingly simple situation, there lay a darker truth, one that demanded protection and care. If you truly love her, let her speak. Let her tell you if she needs help. He insisted gently, yet firmly, his eyes never leaving the little girl's, whose tearful gaze told him more than any spoken word ever could. The woman's face contorted for a brief moment with anger, and her grip on the child tightened as if to force her into silence. Time seemed to slow as the tension in the parking lot reached its peak. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, marking the seconds of an unfolding drama. Keanu's eyes locked with those of the little girl, and in that silent communion, he saw a desperate plea, a word almost too faint to catch. Help, she whispered, barely audible, yet it shattered the fragile calm, and everything around them seemed to hold its breath. In that instant, the woman's facade of calm crumbled, her face twisted in fury and panic, her hand tightening on the girl's wrist as if trying to permanently mute her cry for help. Keanu stepped forward, positioning himself squarely between the two, his voice unwavering and full of determined compassion. Let her go, please. Let her speak for herself, he said, every syllable filled with the weight of responsibility and care, his words slicing through the tense air like a beacon of hope. The woman's eyes blazed with a fury that sent chills down Keanu's spine. You have no idea who you are dealing with, she spat out, her voice low and threatening. But Keanu remained undeterred, his presence steady and his resolve unshakable. If you truly care for her, you will let her express herself, he replied, his tone calm, but carrying an undeniable authority that left no room for argument. A murmur arose from a small group of onlookers, voices rising in concern. Call security! Call the police! Someone shouted. Yet Keanu focused solely on the child, whose eyes now shone with a mix of fear and a flicker of relief, as if she recognized in him the one person willing to stand up for her. His protective arms enveloping her, as if to shield her from a world that had suddenly turned cruel and unyielding. In the chaotic moments that followed, the woman suddenly broke free from Keanu's steadfast barrier, bolting across the parking lot with a wild, desperate energy, her face twisted in anger and betrayal, and without a moment's hesitation, Keanu clutched the girl's hand and pursued her, his steps echoing with the urgency of someone who understood that every second could mean the difference between safety and peril. The parking lot, once bathed in the gentle hues of twilight, now became a stage of frantic motion, cars honking, pedestrians gasping, and amidst it all, the sound of hurried footsteps and desperate shouts filled the air. The woman's voice rang out, laced with venom. You have no idea who I am, who you are dealing with. Her words lost in the cacophony of chaos, yet they carried a menacing promise that sent shivers down the spine of everyone who heard them. Keanu ran with a steady determination, his heart pounding in his chest as he navigated through the maze of parked vehicles, each step fueled by the simple yet profound desire to keep this little soul safe. And in the midst of the chaos, a new sound emerged, a desperate, echoing cry of anguish from the far side of the lot. Ava, Ava, where are you? The cry of a mother torn apart by fear and desperation, a sound so raw and heart-wrenching that it cut through the noise like a knife. At that moment, the world seemed to shift, and Keanu's eyes darted toward the source of the cry, where a disheveled woman, her hair wild and eyes filled with a desperate mixture of hope and despair, raced across the parking lot, her voice trembling as she called out, Ava, my darling, Come here, please. The sound was like a lifeline, drawing the little girl away from the clutches of the other woman. And for a split second, time stood still as the promise of a mother's love broke through the tension. Ava, as the girl was known, hesitated only briefly before letting go of the grasp that had held her in fear. And with a sudden burst of energy, she ran toward the sound of her mother's voice, her tiny legs carrying her as if guided by a force greater than fear. The reunion was both heartbreaking and beautiful as the mother swept her into a tight embrace, tears mingling with smiles in an emotional symphony of relief and love. The sight was a poignant reminder of the healing power of a mother's love. Keanu paused, watching with a heavy heart as the scene unfolded, knowing that his intervention had made a difference, yet aware that the danger was not completely past, for the woman who had tried to control Ava still lingered at a distance, her face pale and eyes burning with an unspoken promise of revenge. "You have made a grave mistake," she hissed, her voice a chilling mixture of fury and defeat. But her words fell on deaf ears as the sound of approaching sirens signaled that help was finally on the way. Within moments, police cars flooded the parking lot, their flashing lights and blaring sirens creating a surreal contrast to the earlier serenity of the evening. The woman, now stripped of her threatening demeanor, stood frozen, her eyes darting around in a futile search for an escape. And then, with a resigned sigh, she allowed herself to be led away by the arriving officers, her plans thwarted by the courage of one man who refused to ignore a silent plea for help. Keanu knelt down beside Ava, his voice soft and full of care. "Are you okay, Ava?" he asked, and the little girl, though still trembling, managed a small nod and whispered a heartfelt, "Thank you," a simple word that carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken emotions, a word that affirmed that in that moment she was safe, that someone cared. The mother, still holding Ava close, sobbed softly, her voice choked with relief and gratitude. "My baby is safe because of you," she managed to say between tears. And Keanu, his heart swelling with both sorrow and joy, replied with gentle conviction, "Sometimes, one brave act of compassion can change a life." His words resonated in the cooling air as onlookers began to murmur, their whispers carrying the story of a man who had stepped up when it mattered the most. As the officers took statements and the reality of the incident sank in, Keanu took a final moment to look into Ava's eyes, a look that seemed to say, "Always remember, there is someone who cares, and you are never truly alone." And in that quiet, powerful exchange, a promise was made, a promise that, in a world that could sometimes be dark and unforgiving, the light of kindness and bravery would always shine through. Dear friends, this story is not just about a moment of crisis, but about the enduring strength of the human spirit, the quiet courage that resides in each of us, waiting for the moment to rise. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, a single act of kindness, a single moment of bravery can change a life, can bring hope where despair once reigned. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that every one of us holds the power to make a difference, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Reflect on the moments in your own life when courage triumphed over fear, and join our community by subscribing to Timeless Stories so that together we can continue to spread hope, love, and compassion, one story at a time. Remember, when you see someone in need, do not hesitate to step forward, to offer a hand, to be the light that guides them through their darkest hours. Because sometimes it is these small acts of bravery that create ripples of change, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. Thank you for listening to this tale of heartfelt courage and resilience. And always keep in mind that even when the world seems cold and indifferent, there will always be heroes among us, ready to stand up, ready to care, ready to make a difference. And as you go about your day, remember to hold on to hope, to cherish the bonds of love and compassion, and to always be that beacon of light in someone else's darkness. If you found this story moving, if it inspired you to believe in the goodness that still exists in the world, please like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Stories so that together we may continue to celebrate the beauty of the human spirit, one timeless tale at a time. Thank you for being part of our journey, and may your heart always remain brave and kind. For in every moment lies the chance to make the world a better place, one gentle act at a time.